Hello and welcome to Searching for Service, brought to you by Rotary District 5950. I'm your host, Kelly Kirk.
I'm Joe Kirk.
And I'm Chad Larson.
Before we dive into who our guest is today, Joe's going to remind us of our show's purpose.
Yeah, I always love doing this because it's an honor. Our show's purpose is to connect people of service with people and stories of service. And it's so cool to have great guests on that represent really cool organizations or are within Rotary itself that really showcase how great service is and how, we've really aligned ourselves with Rotary and why we think it's the best vehicle for service out there.
Great job.
Yeah.
I love it.
Perfect.
So our guest today is Ed Boeve, and he is the incoming district governor for District 5960, which for those of you who don't know, that's just the other half of the country here in Twin Cities, as I like to put it.
A little bit of Wisconsin.
A little bit of Wisconsin. Kind of
probably has lacrosse.
hooks down to the southern part of
And
the
ironically,
Twin Cities.
Prior Lake.
And Prior Lake
Rochester,
too.
yep.
But it was nice having him on and getting to know him a little bit better. And
Yeah, you'll get to hear about some of his vision for his year and kind of how he got there.
Shall we?
we shall.
Let's do it.
I'm your host, Kelly Kirk.
I'm Joe Kirk.
And I'm Chad Larson. We'll be back.
For decades, eradicating polio worldwide has been Rotary's cornerstone cause. We are incredibly close to ridding the globe of this virus, but we need everyone's help to get us to the goal. World Polio Day is October 24th. Please consider making a new donation to Polio Plus or increasing your already generous giving. Go to endpolio.org to be a part of this historical eradication of polio. You will help get vaccinations to the most remote parts of our world and help fulfill a promise we made to end polio now. 2 drops and it stops.
Up your game and show off your Rotary Club spirit. Did you know there's a one-stop shop for all things Rotary apparel? Russell Hampton Company is the world's largest provider of licensed Rotary branded merchandise. From apparel like hats, jackets, and shirts to banners, tents, and awards, they have it all. And most things are customizable. And they can handle orders of all sizes. Russell Hampton Company also has deep connections to Rotary. In 1920, the company founder was part of Rotary Club No. 1 in downtown Chicago. Russell Hampton Company models their business on the Rotary 4-way test and gives back 10% of all purchases to Rotary, supporting its global work. So the next time you and your club are out on a service project, arrive with the right swag from Russell Hampton Company to promote your club and Rotary. Even non-Rotarians will want some of your cool hats, shirts, and jackets. Learn more at bestclubsupplies.com. That's bestclubsupplies.com.
Are you ready to make a difference in your community? Rotary is a great place to get involved in your community and meet passionate groups of people, as well as individuals dedicated to service and fellowship. At Rotary, we believe in the power of teamwork to bring positive change. As a member, you will have the opportunity to participate in exciting projects that address local and global challenges. From supporting educational initiatives to environmental conservation, we tackle it all. Joining a Rotary Club means becoming part of a diverse family of individuals who share a passion for giving back and having fun while making positive impact. With projects and events that enrich your community, there's something for everyone, from local initiatives to international collaborations. It doesn't matter what culture or country you come from. What matters is that you want to belong to a group that strengthens communities and creates lasting change. There's a place for everyone at Rotary, regardless of age or background. Learn more by searching for a Rotary Club in your community and visiting. Together, let's make a difference. Rotary, people of action.
Hello and welcome back to Searching for Service, brought to you by Rotary District 5950. I'm your host, Kelly Kirk.
I'm Joe Kirk.
And I'm Chad Larson.
Before we dive into who our guest is today in studio, Chad is going to remind us of our show's sponsor.
We want to thank Russell Hampton Company for sponsoring the show. They're the #1 printer for Rotary swag and gear in the country. If you're watching online, you can see some of the things they sent us, from a cutting board to some of the tumblers. But if you need some Rotary gear printed, check them out, russellhampton.com.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. So today it's always nice when we have somebody in studio as our guest. We have Ed Boeve, who is the district governor-elect for 5960. So this upcoming July is when you will become officially the district governor.
Dum, 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 dum.
But he also,
I bet.
and he also served as the past president of Stillwater Sunrise Rotary Club for the years 2021 and 2022. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
We are so happy to have you. Let's take just a moment to have our listeners get to know you a little bit. So, where are you from originally?
I grew up in a very small farming community in the very southwest corner of Minnesota. If people know where Laverne, Minnesota is,
Oh, yeah.
I do.
I know where Laverne is.
grew up
Yeah.
southwest of that.
Oh!
Yeah. So I went to school, college, with an individual that grew up in that area too. So I think Laverne is where he lived.
I was going to
but
say past boyfriend.
no, it wasn't. It was not.
Individual, I'm sure.
No, it was not. But St. Mary's University is a very small college, so you get to know individuals very easily. So stop. So awkward. So awkward. All right, and so how long have you been living here in the Twin Cities? In Stillwater, too.
We moved to Stillwater in 1986, so we lived
Okay.
here a long time.
That's a great town.
It is.
Wonderful town.
Where do you guys meet for your club meetings?
We meet at the St. Croix Event Center.
Oh, yeah.
Which is near the bowling alley. If
Yeah.
people know where the bowling alley is in Stillwater.
Yeah, no, I should know, but I'm not aware. So when did you officially join Rotary?
I became a member of Rotary in 1997. I like to tell people that I actually became a Rotarian in about 2016. So there's
Okay.
about 20 years of attending meetings and paying dues.
Okay. And then officially, like, all right, this is my
Yeah,
jam.
Maybe talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
Like, so what was it? Just a little bit more of a loose experience?
While I was working, I was the CEO of a nonprofit and spending 50 to 60 hours a week at work. And so the Rotary membership was frankly part of my responsibility to be part of the community. And so I was there with more selfish motivation maybe than service at that time, even though we did service too.
Yeah. And
That's
then-
interesting. I mean, I think that that's just what happens in life, right? Like we're just pulled by other forces so hard that, sometimes we're like, well, this seems to be an obligation versus, something I really want to try to get into. And then maybe talk a little bit about when did the switch happen? Was it when
Yeah.
you did retire, or was it before that?
No, it was before that. But in around 2015, 16, we became acquainted with an individual who was doing some work in Kenya, providing residential and educational support to some kids who had been orphaned by mostly tribal warfare in the northwest part of the country. And I'm not sure how, but I was drafted to put together a district grant proposal, maybe because I wrote a lot of those in my profession. Maybe it was just chance, I don't know. But I put together a district grant to install a water well in a remote area of northwest Kenya. And that was funded. And so then I was involved in securing support funding from other clubs within the district, and actually was able to take a trip to Kenya to help install the pump for that well. And that's, I guess, when I got hooked. So then pretty soon I was president, and then here I am.
It seems like international travel seems to be a real big trigger for Rotarians to kind of take that next step. And some do it really early through youth exchange, and then others they do it through some level of a service project. But it really does seem to be a commonality amongst a lot of Rotarians that international travel kind of wakes them up to, wow, there's a lot to do.
Yeah, there's a lot to do, but it also just broadens your perspective on perhaps the meaning of life, right? Maybe there's a better way to put it, but
Like, that was deep.
I know. I'm trying to figure out the best way to put it. Maybe it just, we get kind of locked into our bubbles here in the United States, like our respective bubbles. Our
Here's an idea.
bubble, our
What was
Stillwater
it for
bubble.
you? Like, what was it about the international travel
Yeah.
that seemed to trigger you?
Well, where we went was a very remote area, still mud huts, no vehicles besides the ones that we brought. And we have this perspective in our country of poverty and need, and I don't think we have any idea what that actually is. But the other part of that is that the people that we encountered were wonderful people and seemed happy to me. So the level of poverty also coupled with the level of happiness within the community, it just made me start to think about how I live my life
Yeah.
and what true happiness really is.
Yeah.
That's very cool. And I think with Rotary too, as you're talking about, the international, you also see on a whole nother level what Rotary is doing on an international level where, at the club level, you hear it, but you don't see it as much. And that probably broadens you out a little bit too.
And one of the issues that was really cool when we were there was that during that time in that area of the country, there was a drive on to immunize some kids against polio. And the way they did it there was they had trucks with people and flatbed kind of things, and they would have microphones and speakers and talking in Swahili, of course, so we didn't understand it. But they were trying to get people to bring their kids to get the immunization. And when they would be in the village, at least the village where we were, when they would immunize kids within a home, they would put a little strip of paint on here so that the other workers would know that that home was covered. And it was just really cool to see it. It was a Rotary thing in action. It was very cool.
Wow.
Yeah, that is really cool. So then after that, you became club president. How did you make that leap, and what was that like?
Well, it was an interesting experience. In our club, we do it, I think, the way you're supposed to, and then I was selected about a year and a half before my term started. Some clubs do that, some don't, but our club did, and so there was a good prep period. It just happened by coincidence that the week that I was able to attend the North Central President-elect training, it was in Rochester, and it was in the week that the whole COVID thing was breaking.
Wow.
And I remember that there was discussion about whether the event should be held, because it was all in person then. And the decision was made to go ahead with it. A number of people chose not to attend, but I decided to. And so every morning we would get an update from a doctor from the Mayo Clinic about what was going on. And of course, nobody really knew anything about what was going on. But I think he just wanted us to feel better. And so by the end of that week, things were shutting down. And so that was sort of an interesting part of that whole experience. And so the next part of that is that then my presidency was during the shutdown. And so almost all of our club meetings were Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
So it was a little different.
That's a tough time to step in as club president. Probably
I feel
had
like we
plans
all
in their
just
open
took
door.
a big leap backwards into time, thinking through what were we doing
Oh
at
my
that
gosh.
time.
Yeah.
I was doing that mentally in my head. I exactly remember where I was, what I was doing, and just how wild it was to have this whole commotion starting.
Did you guys have a good adoption of the Zoom format? Really good? Okay.
Our attendance stayed about the same. Our club, of course, we were not able to do any fundraisers or anything, but I was really proud of our club in that we took the issue to the members, and the decision was that even though we weren't paying for our meals, which is part of the dues, that the members agreed to keep the dues at the same level. And then we used, frankly, that savings from not having to feed people to use as our donation money. So we were able to maintain all of our projects and just keep things rolling, even though we weren't able to have a fundraiser. So it was really a cool thing, very generous of our members.
Yeah, what a great idea.
It's actually really kind.
Well, and I think too, like we focus so much on achievements and things that we do that we forget to really recognize how there were so many great leaders during COVID that kept things from falling down. Like, I mean, it could have so easily, especially with the demographics of what a lot of Rotary clubs look like. You got an older demographic of people that are just like, I don't want to adopt to this Zoom thing. I don't want to, we'll just give it up and we'll come back to it whenever we can. And so I think the leadership during that time was so important because it could have very easily blown Rotary apart. Just the way that it's set up. I mean, it was really primed to be impacted. And it just shows how great the leadership within Rotary all over, but specifically what you just talked about with your club. So that's really great.
Our district, I thought, also did a really smart thing in that early on in the process, there was some resource made available by Rotary International. And what our district did was made, I think it was $600 per club available in a one-time grant just for them to buy the technology to be able to host these, what were hybrid meetings then. Our club actually still does hybrid meetings.
Yeah.
It's one benefit.
Same.
Not many benefits of the COVID pandemic, but one benefit is it forced us into the Zoom world as a group. And in my role now, I really appreciate that. Because like today, I have 4 meetings besides this, but they're all Zoom. Yeah. And so I can do all of those from my home, and people are just accustomed to that.
Yeah.
And it makes it much easier to do the job that I'm about to.
Oh, sure. Saves the miles big time.
Yeah, and just it's so efficient. You just wouldn't be able to schedule that way. And so either meetings wouldn't happen or there'd be a lot of windshield time.
Yeah. Yeah. So for the role as district governor, how were you approached for that?
Cornered in a hallway. Not far off.
Yeah, we got a deal for you.
I should say, I'm going to add why. How and why?
Well, it was not something that was even on my radar. But once my tenure as the president was over, I thought it was just over. But there were a couple of members of our club, actually past district governors, who approached me and just said, I think you should think about this. I guess I ran a meeting, okay. I don't know why. And maybe they approach everyone, and most people are wise enough to say no. I don't know. No, and that's not true. But
He's like, just can you cut that out?
but anyway, they encouraged me to just apply, and so I thought, well, yeah, I can apply because they'll never select me, because why would they? And so I went through the process and applied, and somehow I was selected. So I would say that these 2 people were mentors of mine in terms of the presidency, but then it was through their encouragement that I went through the process to apply for the position.
Well, I know you're being really humble. Like,
You sure are.
what do you feel like you really bring to the table for district governorship? Like, I mean, you seem like such a well-rounded person that you kind of have a lot of experience on a lot of different things. So
I guess we'll see about that, won't we? Talk to me a year from now about this. I think that my skill set, I think my organizational skills are pretty decent. I spent over 30 years in a CEO position of a nonprofit, so I'm accustomed to working with boards and different groups of people. For example, I've been on the radio quite a few times. Might not show today, but I have.
No, you're doing
It's,
wonderful. You are doing wonderful.
And so being able to bring people together under a common purpose or cause, I think is something that I've been able to do, and I think I can do that. I think people appreciate some of the humor that I bring, although most of the jokes I tell nobody gets except me. So
That's okay. That's how my husband over here is too. So it sounds like you guys are in really good company.
And so I like to bring fun and lightness to settings that I'm a part of. And I think at least some people appreciate that.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think that those are really great characteristics of good leadership, and I'm excited to see how your year goes because I think it's going to go great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when do you find out that so is it 3 years ago that you start the process? Because it goes...
Yeah.
Nominee, elect.
Well,
walk us through the process.
So, walk us through the process. I'm actually going to write it down, too, to visualize it for myself.
Well, I'll have to count back in a way. When there's a selection process that begins in late summer of some year. And so that happens like August, September-ish of a year. There's an interview process. There's an actual nominating team that's put together, interviews all the candidates, and then makes a selection or a recommendation. Once that's done, that nominee is sent to all of the clubs of the district, and there's a period where clubs can object to that nominee. I don't know that it's ever happened in our district. I think it does happen in the world now and then.
Who objects? Because as members, we're not aware of it, right? So is it the presidents?
Well, the scenario, first, it's never happened.
Yeah.
Well, let's play a really great hypothetical.
Yeah.
Well, the scenario would be that a candidate from a club who made the application to become district governor is one of the candidates not selected, but decides through their club, and individuals can't object, a club has to object, but through their club, they could object and ask for an election. And then that's what would happen, is that then there'd be an actual election where clubs would vote on on a candidate.
Interesting. We should just do that for fun sometime.
Wait a couple of years for that. And so anyway, then in the fall, that candidate is selected. They then become the district governor nominee designate.
Yes, that's what it is, the designate.
So then you go through that. Then on July 1 of each succeeding year, it moves up. So you're the designate initially, then you become the nominee, the next year the elect, and then the district governor. And then there actually are roles for past district governor up to 4. So it's about a 7-year overall commitment.
Wow. I was unaware of the 4 years after.
I don't want to overstate it. You know, there are jobs and you're on a team and different things like that. But there are things that you're responsible to do.
Rotary has a funny
Yeah.
way, though, of purposing you if you're available.
Yeah. Okay, that's super helpful for me. I'm such a visual person. I had to write it out and.
Have the last couple of years flown by with or does it kind of ramp up as you go?
Well, there is some ramping up, but time has gone very fast. And the level of panic has just sort of increased where it's at kind of a pitch now.
Yeah.
What?
No going back now, though.
Yeah.
Full steam ahead.
So, as you're a few months out now, what are some things that you are really looking forward to with this district governor role?
Well, the thing I'm looking forward to most is actually getting out to all the clubs. I've been to a few, but that really is the current district governor's role, is to make that connection. And I'm really looking forward to getting out, meeting people. There are so many wonderful Rotarians. They really are a great bunch of people. And there are a lot of wonderful things happening within our communities that in the seat I'm in, I really have no idea about. Some clubs promote themselves, and so we find out about things. We know what's going on within our own community pretty much. But there are many communities with very active and successful Rotary clubs that just don't promote themselves. So they do a lot of really cool things, but you don't know anything about it.
Yep.
It's one of the problems with Rotary, I think, is that we
Yeah.
don't promote ourselves very well.
That's for sure.
And I'm looking forward to meeting those people, finding out about some of those things, and maybe encouraging them to let some other people know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Well, I
through
have
this,
an opportunity then if you think that there's opportunity for them to shine their light here on the podcast, we'd be happy to have them.
I can make a note of that.
I mean, even through the show, we've come across clubs where we're like, how many members do you have? Like 40, and they're like, wait a second, you're how many exchange students do you host?
Yeah.
Like, and you're like, what? We do 2.
You raised how much?
You do
You know,
11?
so-
Yeah, how much? And how many projects are you doing? And you just never knew it.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. Like, I think we do a really poor job of advertising that sometimes. But it kind of goes against the grain of the service component sometimes. And you go, but our objective is also to spread the word and to, get more servants,
Yes.
more membership and more. I mean, because it's a no-brainer when you're in it. It's so funny. Like, everybody that like ever comes into it, they're like, yeah, I mean, it's just Rotary is just such a no-brainer. But it's that threshold of getting people over the line to see what Rotary clubs actually do and how they do it and why it's important and how each of the Rotarians have this passion for serving their communities or learning more about really great organizations. So it's just such a conundrum, and I'm sure that membership's got to be up there on one of your top priorities as a district governor. I mean, I feel like that's got to carry from every governor all the way forward.
It actually starts at the top with Rotary International.
Yep.
There's been a challenge issued that we've accepted in every district in the world, actually. President Stephanie Urchik is challenging all of us to grow by at least 100 members each district. In our district, that translates to about a 4% growth. And so the message I'm bringing to clubs is that 4% hit in terms of achieving a goal, and we're encouraging them to achieve that goal, not to stop there. Mm-hmm. And in terms of numbers, I've tried to break it down specifically. So if you're a club with 25 members or fewer, that means 1.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But if you have 26 members, then it's 2.
Yeah.
Because always round up
Yeah.
for that number, which for many clubs becomes an easier tackle rather than saying, oh, we have to gain 100. It's, well, no, we need to gain 2.
Yeah. Much more achievable. And easy.
We've actually had a good year in District 5960 this year. I think it's not a secret that Rotary's been declining in membership for quite a few years, and COVID certainly didn't help that. In 5960, we've actually reversed that this year, and we're at about a plus 40.
Congratulations.
We get statistics from our zone, which is about 25 districts through the central part of the U.S. here. And there are about 3 districts in that zone that are actually gaining members this year, and we're one of those. So we're feeling really good about that.
That's a huge
That's something to be
accomplishment.
proud of.
It is good. It
And-
makes us think maybe we can hit 100 next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, keep the momentum.
Well, when you guys meet as districts too, do you guys share some of those things and maybe what you're working on that seems to be reversing the trend, or like, are there specific items that your district is focused on this year that, or maybe it's probably the last couple years because it's got to take some time to run up the change in the membership. So
Yeah, certainly the success this year is built from activities from last year, because you're right, you do have to.
it takes time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there are monthly webinars, I guess I would call them, zone opportunity or Zoom opportunities that come from our zone that do focus on that very topic in terms of this particular club or this particular district is experiencing success. Why is that? And so there'll be a topic that's covered, and well, this is what we think. Why it's never one thing.
Yep.
Sure.
But anyway, so yeah, that is made available to clubs and districts.
Yeah, I mean, this is such an interesting platform. It reaches clubs all over the world, and it'd be really interesting. I'm sure there's a lot of districts out there that are going, "Hey, how did they do that?"
Yeah.
And I don't know if you can point to
Yeah,
something.
what do you think has led to
specifically.
some of that success?
Well, it's not one thing.
Yeah,
It really comes down to the clubs. The district can be supportive and offer opportunities and maybe some guidance, but it really comes down to what happens at that community level, at the club level. In our particular district, there are a couple of initiatives that have drawn some interest. Hosting the 2029 International Convention for Rotary has drawn a few people's interest here. We've had also a few clubs, or several clubs actually, who have looked at their categories of membership. My club happens to be one of them. We're one of the clubs that is showing some growth. And at the beginning of the year, we created a different membership classification that basically it's a full Rotary membership, but it cuts out the breakfast and the meeting requirement. And so the members are included in all of the service activities, the fun stuff. They get all the communications from the club, and they're full Rotarian, except they don't come to breakfast on Tuesday mornings. So it's cheaper.
yep,
It's easier for people to plug in and be a part of it. And I'm not here to say that that's the only answer, that it doesn't come with its challenges.
right.
But it's an opportunity for people who either are not morning people or who have jobs or who have families to be a part of something and participate without that weekly obligation and without the quarterly bill.
Well, and we talked off air about this a little bit, about how the really difficult group to get are, the working professionals, parents. Like, I mean, that's Kelly and I. I mean, part of the reason why we do this show is because we want to model that to other people out there. No, it is possible to be part of Rotary and raise kids and run businesses and, and do all of these things. And I think it's such a great adaptation of Rotary to recognize that and go, well, how do we accommodate? And no doubt that has to be a huge driver of that membership component where, hey, we see you. We'd love for you to be part of our projects, be on all the communication, get to the things that you can. Maybe come to a meeting every now and then if you really want to. I'm sure somebody would buy them breakfast.
Actually, part of membership is they can come up to 4 meetings a year without
perfect.
Great.
Yeah.
It's just
Brilliant. So
Once a quarter. Once a quarter.
And our hope for some people is if things change for them a little bit, or maybe our meetings are very fun.
Yeah.
And if they come to a few and say, well, gee, maybe I'd like to come more often, that then maybe they become the full dues paying people.
Mm-hmm.
But
Eventually,
there's no requirement of that.
right?
No requirement there.
It is funny you say that, though. Like, we talk about it all the time, Kelly and I mean, we've even spoken about it, Chad, is like when you don't get your Tuesday morning startup, like your week just doesn't quite fit right.
It is. It's
I didn't get Rotary
strange.
this week, and it just,
It's strange. Yeah.
Yeah, once you get used to it, like this week, I wasn't at, and I tried to get on the Zoom and it didn't work. And
I know. I
it
saw
just was
you.
the-
I saw
that's
you
like-
trying to get in, and
Just a different day, once you
the
get-
speaker didn't see it. So,
Yeah, it definitely, and I bet, over time you'll see a lot of conversion. It may take 1 year for some and 5 for others, but I think once you kind of get to a few meetings, you kind of realize,
there's so much
you get
value
more out
in
of
them.
it than the time.
Yeah, and if that happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen and the people just simply stay involved doing good in their world and community, well, that's fine too.
What are some of the other things that you're looking forward to, or initiatives that you have?
Well, there's sort of a correlating priority that we have attached to the membership. Actually, is in addition to attracting members, we also want to make sure that we keep the members that we have. The data suggests that there are plenty of people that join Rotary. There's just not enough of us that stay. And so the data shows that if a Rotarian joins and remains a member into their 3rd year of membership, the chances of them staying long-term is greatly
It's a hook
enhanced.
line. Hook
Many
line.
people that leave Rotary leave within that first 2 years. And there are a variety of reasons for that I won't get into. But a priority for us is to pay some particular attention in our district to people in that circumstance. And so we're still putting together our action plan in terms of exactly how to do that, but we have our foundation team involved in terms to figure out, in addition to membership, and our DE&I team also, to pay some special attention to people during that first 2 years of their membership to make sure that they're heard, make sure that they're engaged, and that they have fun as
That's
part of
good.
their experience. And so that's a priority connected to the membership. Another priority that we have is around a cultural appreciation initiative. It's the way we're approaching it at the district level, our DE&I task. And we've charged that team with developing some opportunities for all of our members to have some experiences or have some exposure around people who are from different cultures than the typical Caucasian male.
Yeah.
And so that can go a lot of different directions. It could be an age deal, as we've talked about, where from a cultural appreciation, helping to understand people who are younger, since our demographic is pretty old, that could be of benefit. We're actually having some engagement with some folks from some of the indigenous communities around that culture, helping to understand and appreciate that history, and a couple other things there that we're looking forward to that we hope will help us all understand better, but also might help us expose ourselves to folks from that different culture, and also expose folks from that culture to Rotary.
Yep.
To hopefully develop partnerships, whether it results in membership or just some sort of a partnership that doesn't involve membership, that's all okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the tricky thing with Rotary too. Like we support service no matter what it looks like, right? And where I think we can get better as an organization is going, and I think that this show has really done a nice job. I mean, at least for me to go, well, why wouldn't you join Rotary if that's the case? Is, we try to acknowledge people like however you serve is however you serve. Who cares? We just believe that Rotary touches everything, or you come to a Rotary club and champion that level of service that may not be present in that Rotary club. It's when it's presented like that, it can be overwhelming sometimes for people that are just looking for service projects to serve on. And that seems to be a lot of what we encounter is just, we're looking to just do a service project. And it's like, well, what do you like?
Yeah.
Because you can do anything. And they're like, what? So it becomes overwhelming on like, it's that whole thing when you kind of, can do anything, you can do nothing too. Like it's, instead of like that lack of focus sometimes works against you, and in our wide band of opportunities can be as much of a detriment as it is a strength. I don't know. That was a diatribe of
Yeah.
Just pick a lane.
Yeah.
Pick a lane.
Well, and I think that to your point, so the first 2 years, right? In that first 2 years, either people pick a lane or they don't. Like I really think that that's one of the things that happens in that first couple years is they'll get connected to a couple people that they really enjoy, and they do kind of similar service, or they get on a committee that they like, or they come in with something they want to champion, and then they rally a lot of club members around that. So it is really funny because I bet you that if you went through a club and went, hey, tell me about how you serve, it's probably pretty narrow. Like it's, hey, I love doing highway cleanup and this, that, and the other thing, and serving doing that. And then there's somebody else that's like, oh, I love being in leadership. I love like it might be something to think through of going in that first 2 years, we have to get them narrow. instead of wide.
Find some focus.
Maybe some. Did we just solve the problem on the show?
So go pick up some trash along the road. And get back to me.
It's one of my favorites. It's actually coming up.
Yeah. Well, what else? I know we got a bit of time left, but I don't want to miss some of the key things you're looking at as become.
Well, the other thing that I'd like to just bring up is that we have a commitment to fostering peace within our district, and it's certainly a Rotary International. It's a theme throughout Rotary. But we have a 3-year theme that we're just ending our first year around Make Peace Visible. The sort of highlight of my year will be hosting an International Peace Conference from May 1st to the 3rd of 2025. We have already commitments or at least agreements with some folks from different countries of the world to come in and talk about peace. We are planning to extend invitations and hope to expand it beyond just Rotary so that people that are interested in peace, whether they're paying Rotary dues or not, might find interest in attending and participating. And we think it's going to be a really cool event. We have a few things already lined up that we're not ready to announce quite yet.
Sure.
But we do plan to start marketing the opportunity by July or so of this year, and hope that it's a great event to help foster peace within our communities.
Love it.
Metro
It's a
area.
great idea.
When you talk about the event, you kind of touched on and bring in speakers. Do you see it as kind of a local Rotary? I know you said other than just Rotary, or do you plan to have people, other Rotarians from across the country, come in, or where is the focus?
We hope so. We're going to market that way.
Yeah.
And we hope to get participation at the program level from some of those areas too, that we're not just limiting this to what's going on in our own community, although that'll be part of it. Yeah. But we have a team that is going to be here, we think. This is probably one of those things I wasn't supposed to talk about. But we think we're going to have a friendship exchange with a group from Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Oh, very cool.
That will be in town. We'll have a group of people that will be visiting Sao Paulo too, probably the month before that. And so they're going to be here visiting, learning about what's going on here, but also helping us to understand what's going on in Brazil in terms of peacekeeping, whether it's environmental or whatever it is that they choose to talk about. So
that'll be exciting.
Yeah.
Maybe you can get the international president-elect. He's going to be from Brazil.
Well,
Mario's
Mario. Yes, who lived in White Bear Lake, actually, as an exchange student. So very cool thing. That we can't talk about that.
I know that.
I feel like you about went into it, and then you're like, hold.
No,
wait for July.
Yeah.
July.
Out
We'll
of
talk
bounds.
about that.
Well,
We talk about it all. We just wait. We just shelve this show until July.
Well, we have Tom on, who is the aide to Stephanie, and so we hear how busy and challenging the schedule can be. So I understand.
And we get we can't talk about that a lot. That's
Definitely understand.
Please don't bring this up on the podcast, okay? And we're like, you got it, Tom. You got it.
Well, so anything else kind of before we start to wrap up that you really want to highlight as you approach your year?
I think we've covered it pretty well. I just am really excited for the year to start. There is a great team in place in our district, team leads and team members that are, I think, ready to roll and excited to go, and I'm excited to try to keep up with them.
Very cool.
That's really fun.
One question we ask a lot of our guests that we haven't asked you, do you have a favorite service project that you've done with Rotary in your extended time?
Roadside cleanup's kind of a cool thing. We do that too. A lot of Rotary clubs pick up trash. I'm involved with our climate action team, and something that sort of down and dirty in our communities in Washington County, there is plans for curbside pickup of compost, but it's not in place. It's just keeps getting pushed out. And so our club about a year and a half ago, through the generous offer of one of our members, said that, well, if you bring your compost to meetings, we'll get it to a spike because there's a place you can take it in Matamidi. And so that started, and so people would bring their compost stuff, which isn't always the most pleasant stuff in the world.
No, it's the stuff that stinks.
Winter's a lot better.
Yeah.
But that's happened on a weekly basis for, a year and a half at least. And the person who collects it and delivers it also weighs it. And so at last count, I think we were up to a couple of tons of compostable material that was gathered and brought to the correct spot. So it's just kind of a cool thing. If you come to one of our meetings and there's a smell outside the door, it's because it's summer.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, any parting words as we wrap up here that you'd like to leave the listeners with?
No, I'm good. Thank you for the opportunity.
Join Rotary.
Yeah.
And we need 100.
Yeah.
We'll have to have you back at some point and hear how things are going, and definitely have somebody, if not you, to come talk about the Peace Conference that you're
That'd be great.
together. When you can share more.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Thank you so much for carving time out to come in studio too. That little truck from Stillwater.
My pleasure. It's my pleasure.
It's been an honor. Thank you so much for tuning in to Searching for Service. I'm your host, Kelly Kirk.
I'm Joe Kirk.
And I'm Chad Larson. We'll be back.
Show off your Rotary Club spirit with Russell Hampton Company. They're the world's largest provider of licensed Rotary items. They make everything like hats, jackets, shirts, banners, and more. Russell Hampton Company is a fourth-generation family-owned and operated business founded in 1920 by a member of the first-ever Rotary Club in Chicago, Club Number 1. When you call Russell Hampton Company, you get more than just a company, you get a fellow Rotarian-owned business who's there to help. No matter if you're ordering for your entire club or just yourself, no order is too big or too small. Not sure what your club needs? Their team members can help and customize just about anything. They live by the Rotary 4-way test. They also give 10% of all purchases back to Rotary to support Rotary's global work. So remember, Russell Hampton Company is your one-stop shop for all things Rotary. Learn more at bestclubsupplies.com. That's bestclubsupplies.com. Russell Hampton Company, Rotarians serving Rotarians. Up your game and show off your Rotary Club spirit. Did you know there's a one-stop shop for all things Rotary apparel? Russell Hampton Company is the world's largest provider of licensed Rotary branded merchandise. From apparel like hats, jackets, and shirts to banners, tents, and awards, they have it all. And most things are customizable. And they can handle orders of all sizes. Russell Hampton Company also has deep connections to Rotary. In 1920, the company founder was part of Rotary Club Number 1 in downtown Chicago. Russell Hampton Company models their business on the Rotary 4-way test and gives back 10% of all purchases to Rotary, supporting its global work. So the next time you and your club are out on a service project, arrive with the right swag from Russell Hampton Company to promote your club and Rotary. Even non-Rotarians will want some of your cool hats, shirts, and jackets. Learn more at bestclubsupplies.com. That's bestclubsupplies.com.
Rotary is a place for all community-minded people who want to serve their areas with the support of an international organization. Join Rotary to find service. Join Rotary to find inclusion. Join Rotary to find leadership. Join Rotary to find fun. Join Rotary to find friendship. Join Rotary to find a better version of the world. Find a Rotary Club near you at Rotary.org and click on Club Finder. There is a club out there for everyone. Find your fit with Rotary. Rotary.org.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build good? Will it better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? When we pay it forward, it will be returned.
Join Rotary to serve your community and the world with honesty, fairness, and goodwill. Our 4-way test guides our actions every day. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? These values underpin our commitment to making a positive impact on the world. Learn more about your local Rotary Club and stop searching and start serving. And the song you're hearing right now was performed by the Rotary Club of Saskatoon, Natuna in Canada.
When we pay it forward, it will be returned.
Hello and welcome back to Searching for Service, brought to you by Rotary District 5950. I'm your host, Kelly Kirk.
I'm Joe Kirk.
And I'm Chad Larson.
That was so nice, wasn't it?
Always.
Yeah, I enjoyed learning kind of about what he's got planned, and it was nice to kind of hear the focus and what they've done to grow membership as is always a focus for this show.
I think what's also intriguing too is as we're hearing and learning and just having these conversations with these incoming district governors, or like as they're kind of in that succession, how it is that became true, a reality for them. And for him, it was just so interesting. He's like, I didn't necessarily ask for it, just all of a sudden, you know, and
Said
then you're
yes.
kind of doing this like, why me? But as we are learning too, it's just like, well, why not you?
Yeah. You could, as we got to know him, you could hear the reason on his skill set and organization. And, yeah, it was a good interview. I thought it was cool too, and I think something we're hearing, with non-traditional clubs, and then they have a secondary membership out there in Stillwater, which helped them grow through tough times, of not making somebody be all in. As we talk about as younger Rotarians, that seems to be a big hurdle for people to think I got to do it every week, and that's pretty creative that they went with that shorter or lesser version to get people in.
Yeah, smart, innovative. That's how you adapt and overcome.
Yeah, that's for sure. It was also, I thought, kind of cool to hear he was kind of passive Rotarian for how long.
Right.
And then he flipped the switch and he was all in.
Yeah.
And you guys know how it is. You say yes and there's no turning back. But also he told the story about how he really saw the impact over in Africa. And that'll get anybody, I assume, without having been to a mission trip.
Yeah, having that firsthand experience is obviously pretty eye-opening for any sort of individual.
Yeah, it sounds like the travel is a key component to really activate, service and stewardship. And, sometimes you just need a change of perspective. And I think that's ultimately what that provides. And, I actually liked how he was a passive Rotarian for 10 years, because I bet you there's a lot of people that could really identify with that. Is like, my company made me join, or it was part of what they do. And then I got hooked later in life when I wasn't running kids around to hockey and sports and stuff like that. So it's okay that it's a maturation process when it comes to Rotary, and everybody's journey is a little bit different. And I think it'll be interesting to see what he focuses on for the year, because I know he was a little cagey on that, and that makes sense because you don't want to rain on the parade of who's there already, and then you just want to protect what your initiatives are until it's your year.
Well, we'll have to have him back to talk about the peace conference.
The peace conference, coming up.
So he gave us at least that nugget, which is I know going to be a big event in May of next year. So.
Yeah, well, and nonetheless being held at Mystic. I mean, they are anticipating a large enough crowd, but I think that it'll be more given the location. So it was really wonderful having him on, and we hope you enjoyed listening and learning a little bit more about Ed. I'm your host, Kelly Kirk.
I'm Joe Kirk.
And I'm Chad Larson.
As a reminder, it's time to stop searching
and start serving.
We'll see you next week.